they were all flying within all the legal parameters. So there was nothing to be concerned about. All right, that's what we're told. So we will talk to an aviation expert, Pete Trabucco, in just a little bit here on New Jersey Mornings with Ken Rosato. Our number 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. If you see me look down, it's because they made the mistake of giving me access to the panel, the power to press the button to take the phone calls, because we kind of like to call this the fusion of radio and television, because it is an interactive morning show. So we want to hear from you. Oh, he's on. So do I press him on? Talk to me. They're talking in my ear. Oh, so let's see. All right, you're learning with me, folks. I'm going to hit host room or screen, folks. Tell me. All right, I'm going to try. Let's try host room. Let's try screen. We're learning together. All right, Gerald will put him on. Go ahead, Gerald. Take him on. Oh, it's going to be host room. See, this is what happens when you're not a techie. So we have Pete Trabucco, who is a pilot and aviation expert, and he's going to tell us all about the drones here as we bring him on and tell us why we didn't know about this earlier. It's just so easy to have had the president simply tell us something about the drones. Pete Trabucco, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Pete. I just tap danced there and tried to press buttons, and I am so technically inept. So Pete Trabucco joins us on the phone right now. So you are a pilot, among other things. Your resume reads amazingly between acting and writing and everything else. But among those things, you've been a pilot for years. And what did you feel when you first heard about the drones? What did you think they were?
Well, and in the beginning, we didn't know what it was. In fact, a lot of it had to do because, like everybody else, I looked up in the sky, saw what was going on there, and noticed obviously the drones, which have a little bit different lighting pattern than the aircraft. So it was interesting to figure out what was going on. I kind of knew that it was probably something to do with drone licenses and the Part 107, which is issued by the FAA, that had drones flying. The best time to fly drones is probably at night. So looking up in the sky, I pretty much told people not to worry about it. I didn't think it was that important or that dangerous at this point. There was a lot of rumors running around, obviously, and there were many more drones that we have seen since November than before. But it never really bothered me too much, although keeping an eye on them and knowing that they would turn off and obviously head in other directions when other drones were up trying to see what they're doing was kind of interesting. When the White House press conference was I guess it was yesterday, and Caroline Leavitt basically says it was authorized by the FAA. That brings up more questions than it does answers. Why did the FAA do this?
Right, exactly. So I'm sorry to step on you, but yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, so they were authorized by the FAA. Why do they need to be authorized by? Aren't all drone operators up to some point given authorization to just fly their drones?
And they are, as part of the Part 107, which is a course that you take. 98% people pass it. You are licensed with the FAA, and you're authorized to do that. So why in the world? We're talking about FAA research. What does that mean? Now, a lot of these sightings, so people don't look up at the sky until something happens. A lot of those sightings are, in fact, aircraft that are flying in an area. It could even be planets and stars that people look at that are pretty bright. And, of course, they get excited and they do that. Not all the drones, in fact, I looked up a lot, not all of them were aircraft or stars or things along those lines, celestial type of objects. But the bottom line is, we still got to know why the FAA did that. And if the FAA did it, then why did they close airports? Because they were in airspace. So that's another question.
Right. And why would you not inform the state police and the governors? That's the thing that concerns me. You'd think there'd be some kind of communication between the federal government and state and local officials, even just to say, look, don't release anything more than this. All we can tell you is we got it. We know what this is about, but we can't share any more information. You would think they would have at least said that so that the state could have filtered it to us and said, look, we're on it. This is ours. Don't worry about it. We're safe. We're not being invaded by space people or by foreign entities. But they didn't do that.
No, for whatever reason, they did not do that, and it's suspicious. Now, in the past, if the military were running operations, especially in New Jersey, the state police would know, local police departments would know, FBI would be informed, and we would pretty much know what is going on there. So I would say that this is a very, I don't know, interesting situation that now we're hearing just little bits and pieces to the puzzle, which we still don't know why this is all happening. Yes, I'm assuming that this is, we'll get more information in the future because you can't just leave it. The White House just can't leave it as it is right now. But again, to give an excuse like the FAA research and not give the information on research, and on top of that, no reason to know who is flying these drones and where they're coming from. I mean, obviously, these are commercial drones. These are not, the ones you buy in a store. And these are big, 6-7 foot, almost big as a car drones that are flying up there. Now, of course, there was, all the conspiracy about, the the suitcase bombs and they're picking up radioactivity and stuff along those lines, which again still can't be ruled out at this point because they have the capability of actually monitoring that as well. So it's still an interesting aspect. And just last night, I saw 3 of them flying around my area here in Central Jersey.
Wow. So there they are. They're still up there. And yeah, I guess we'll know eventually because it seems that this administration is 1 billion% more transparent than the previous one. At least we'll get something looked into. And I'm sure they will share when they can. And it's okay. Look, if they are doing something to keep us safe and they tell us that, I'm cool with that. I don't know about you. If they can't get into more detail than that, I'm glad that we know that they're on it. And everybody kind of mocked Trump in the last administration when he established the Space Force. But now we know that the next war that we fight, hopefully it never comes, but will likely be fought in space or certainly in the skies above and likely be done electronically as opposed to with human beings getting shot. So creating the Space Force was probably one of the wisest things we could have done with our money at the time. Well, aviation expert and pilot Peter Boop. Yeah, go ahead. Well, go ahead, sir.
Well, we're back in space again. Obviously, I've interviewed a lot of astronauts and the space shuttle program. So yeah, the Space Force issue that people mock, we are going to be back in space again. And again, it's not just a prestigious thing. It is also a technologically advanced situation. So yeah, we'll find out more in the future, but don't panic on that. I'm sure it's just a very simple explanation.
And if there was, I think with all the thousands of drones we apparently spotted in the last few months, if there was a moment to panic, it would have probably been a few months ago and not right now. Pete Trabucco, pilot and aviation expert, an all-around good guy. Thank you so much for getting up early with us this morning. I appreciate you being on with us.
You have a great morning.
You too. And you are watching ONNJ Mornings. Right now it is 7:16. Our phones are open once again, as you heard, 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Busy day today on Capitol Hill. Today's the day that RFK Jr. will be grilled by senators as he is President Trump's pick for Health and Human Services Secretary. RFK appears today before the Senate Finance Committee. Tomorrow, he comes back once again for a double dose. He'll be back to appear before the Committee of Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. Kennedy's nomination is definitely more questionable, if you will, than some other Trump picks. So his confirmation, not considered a sure thing. 7:17, we come back, another check of our Garden State forecast with meteorologist Mike Favetta. You're watching excuse me, tired. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We're coming right back. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. 7:19. Our temperature 28 degrees. It's a little chillier than yesterday morning this time, but meteorologist Mike Favetta tells us that, we don't really have today to worry about. Just a lot of winds. It's toward the end of the week we have to worry a little bit
Yeah.
more, right, Mike?
It's true. I mean, today you look at the temperature and go, wow, upper 40s. All right, we'll take it. Not so bad. But Ken, I have a confession to make. I know there's been like
Oh,
these computer gremlins, these technical issues we've been having. I
yes.
forgot to turn on my clicker this morning. So user error all around. It
Oh my
happens.
gosh.
It happens.
Let's
It's
get the
okay.
staff on it. We have like 50 people running around behind us. Let's get one of the assistants on it. Come on, Mike.
Ken, I'm
Get
clicking the
the
maps and I'm like,
stand
why
right
are we
there.
stuck on temperatures? Let's get the show on the road. So here we go. Yeah, actually today will look pretty decent. Lots of sunshine across New Jersey, just a few passing sprinkles and maybe a quick flurry up in northern New Jersey, similar to what we had yesterday, except this time it happens during the day. A few clouds and then they move on by. But look at that high of 50 over in Point Pleasant in this afternoon, Tom's River climbing to a high of 50. Yes, the New Jersey forecast through Monmouth and Ocean County, even back over toward Middlesex and Mercer County, Roosevelt, Princeton, Trenton, all climbing to the upper 50s today. I don't think it'll feel as pleasant like a spring day, only because you'll have some pretty gusty winds around through this afternoon. But we'll take every degree we can get, considering the average high for the date is 40 degrees. And like Ken and I were talking about yesterday, this is typically the coldest part of the winter, heading into the last part of January, early part of February. These are the wind gusts through this afternoon. This is why it won't feel like a pleasant 49 or 50 degrees, because you'll have a 27 mile per hour wind gust there in Long Branch right after the lunch hour. 35 mile per hour winds over on LBI, and back toward Morristown, 31 mile per hour wind. So very gusty through this afternoon. But note the wind direction change. All of these arrows blowing from the north and west down to the south and east. That's the front pushing through, and it's really going to take a toll on temperatures tonight. Yes, the winds will relax by tomorrow morning, but the damage will already have been done. We have temperatures that will feel right back down below zero at times. Look at these numbers dropping down into the teens by later on this evening. That feels like 10 by 5 o'clock this evening over in Sussex County. And then 1 degree is your wind chill by 11 o'clock tonight. 2 degrees in Morristown, 10 degrees in Newark, and 13 in Long Branch. So a very chilly start to the morning with those wind chills feeling like these single digits and teens yet again. Winter letting you know it's not going anywhere just yet. And then by the afternoon tomorrow, yes, the sun eventually warms us back to about the freezing mark, but it's going to be a much colder feel to the day despite all the sunny weather. With the southerly winds coming in by Friday morning, that brings in our next weather system. So that's what's on the Futurecast, showing the rain that moves in after a beautifully sunny day on Wednesday. First, I want to talk about these little blips here showing up on the radar screen. This is the outer fringe of that clipper that stays to the north. So again, there could be a few snow grains up there, a little bit of those sleet pellets up towards Sussex County and working their way down over through Middlesex and Monmouth County through about 3 o'clock today. Most people don't see anything other than just a few extra clouds. This is the main concern. Starting off late tomorrow night, this is Thursday night, going into Friday morning, you see that shade of pink arrive there in Hunterdon County and Warren County. That is the cold air being trapped in by those mountains there in northwestern New Jersey in the hills, and that allows for some freezing rain glaze to begin forming. Most of the state, especially south of 78, you're just plain old rain because you're above the freezing mark. But where the surface temperature is below that freezing mark, you will likely see a brief period of light icy glaze in the northern sections of the state, and that could take us right up until the morning rush hour. It quickly changes to all rain because look how warm temperatures get. We'll be in the 50s as soon as late Friday morning, even working up through northern New Jersey, climbing into the upper 40s. So it doesn't last, that ice, but there's just enough of it to likely cause some problems early on in the morning. Heavy rain taking over Friday afternoon. It's going to be a good soaking rain we could use, especially after that little bit of dry period we've had for at least the last few days. So here's the long-range futurecast showing that rain exiting by later Friday night. We've got a pretty decent day on Saturday. Lots of sunshine, but then again Sunday, that potential for another round of snow as another clipper moves off to the north. Will likely be on the outer fringe effects of it and pick up some light snow, potentially in northern New Jersey later Friday night. Rainfall totals, they'll be high as the further south you head, so over toward Tom's River, Atlantic City, down in Millville and Cape May could be upwards of 2 inches. That's on the higher side, but even an inch we'll take, with northern New Jersey picking up anywhere from a tenth of an inch to a half inch, doing a really good job of helping that drought situation, with the drought monitor remaining extreme and even severe across most of New Jersey. Look at that, 29% of normal rainfall for this point of the month here in Toms River. So a very dry month so far, and even up in Newark, 30% of average rainfall. So those reservoirs keep on dropping without any serious rainfall. So we'll take it, even with the rain deficit, anywhere from 1 to 2 inches statewide. So some pretty dry weather we've seen over the last few weeks. This weekend, we start off sunny, end a little cloudy, with a chance for some rain and snow later Sunday evening. We'll detail more about that coming up. We take a look at the 7-day forecast, Ken, and look at next week's February weather. See if it'll be February and cold to start off the new month.
Look at you looking ahead. You just impress every day. Thank you very much, meteorologist Mike Pavetta. We'll be checking back with you in just a little bit. I mean, he's a daddy, he's a husband, and a good meteorologist. Go figure. 7:25 right now, and it is 28 degrees. And get this. 2 federal workers have filed a lawsuit to stop the federal government's HR office from emailing all civilian federal staff at once. Imagine this. They work for the executive branch. President Trump is technically the CEO of the executive branch, and it seems that these 2 snowflakes who filed the lawsuit don't want to hear from the president directly. No, we don't like to mean Orange Man. Instead, they want him to email their managers, and the managers can filter the emails to the appropriate employees. Can you imagine suing your boss's boss because she or he wants to email the company directly? I mean, how many emails have you gotten from the big boss at work that starts off with "Hello team" because it's sent to the entire company? These coddled federal employees have been working from home for 5 years. Nearly 95% of them, they are ranked extremely inefficient. They don't get their work done. Many of them have been seen out at lunch or on vacation while claiming they're at work. Now they want to dictate to their boss of bosses that he is not allowed to email them. Guess what? Get lost. This is why the president just yesterday signed an executive order that will cut a lot of the people from federal positions. And before he just fires people outright, which is what the ultimate plan is, because we have over 2 million workers who are non-military and non-essential, if you will. They work in different departments. And let me just back it up. 15 years ago, we only had about 500,000 federal workers. Then it went to 1 million. Now it's 2 million. The rate of increase of federal workers has so far outpaced the increase in population that it is not called for, especially as the rest of society has actually cut back on the number of employees because we have computers today to take care of a lot of the jobs. So many of these people know that if they show up at the office, they will be outed as doing nothing all day. So they sit at home, they pretend to work, they do 1 or 2 letters in the course of a day, and then they pretend to be exhausted. And this is what we have with too many, not all federal employees. Clearly, we have many who work hard. But how else do you justify having over 2 million? At this point, the president thinks that easily 2 to 400,000 could be cut, and we wouldn't even notice that they're gone. 2 to 4 million, 2 to 400,000 rather, of the 2 million. And right now, the president is offering a deal. The federal employees that I just referred to, the non-essential, the non-military, the non border patrol people, those individuals will have 8 days to make a decision to take an early retirement, and they will get 8 to 9 months of their salary. How do you like that? That gives them plenty of time. They could spend 3 months laying in the sun and 6 months getting a new job. That's a pretty good deal. 8 to 9 months of their current salary just to leave. Just say bye-bye. Now, if they don't want to take that deal and the president still wants to cut back, because this is going to save, based on his estimates, at least 100 billion of your tax dollars. Okay, you wonder why the inefficiencies of government exist. You wonder why they need to have congestion pricing in New York City. It's not because they desperately need the money. It's the billions and billions and billions that they have, they inefficiently spend. They don't know how to efficiently spend the money. They can't account for the money. Former Mayor de Blasio's wife was mistakenly put in charge of a program to deal with homeless people in New York City. She was given a budget of $1 billion for a city, $1 billion. And 3 years later could not account for how one penny of it was spent. Some of the programs that she enacted included yoga for homeless and mentally disturbed people. Apparently, about 30 people took part in it. $1 billion unaccounted for. So you can understand when President Trump says, hey, Elon Musk took over then Twitter, now X. In the process, he cut back the workforce 80 to 90%. Let me ask you something. You have X, right? Many of you have X. Have you noticed any difference in the way X functions? Have you noticed any difference in the way it runs? Actually, I think it's more efficient. And I notice that there's less shadow banning and less opinion. It just functions as it's supposed to function, as a town square. And so he was able to save X for years when it was Twitter was not profitable. Why? Because they had tens of thousands of employees they didn't need. So when Elon Musk came in and laid off all these workers, and Ken, you're for laying off people. No, I'm for efficiency. These companies do not exist to be our welfare. Our companies exist to make money for the stockholders. And before you say, oh, the rich, greedy stockholders, if you have a retirement plan, a 401k, et cetera, you're a stockholder. That's what you are, because those funds are invested in many of the companies that we're about to complain about because they're laying people off. And so as those companies make money, your retirement goes up. That's the way it works. So, the inefficiency that they had at X, Twitter, was rampant, and it runs significantly better. And guess what? It finally makes a profit. It makes a profit, and you don't notice any difference. In fact, if anything, the quality has gone up. So in the federal government, we have apparently upwards of 1 million unnecessary workers. President Trump wants to eliminate 200,000 right off the bat. He thinks at least 200,000 will take this offer. Many of them are older. They were about to retire anyway. Now, instead of retiring with a small deal, they could retire with 8 to 9 months' salary, but they have 8 days to respond. And he's making it real easy to respond. All the people have to do, the federal employees who are part of this, they've been sent emails, the same emails that those 2 federal workers are suing for because they don't like getting emails from evil man, horrible man, orange bad, that as they get that email, all they have to do is respond, accept. If they accept that, the process, the paperwork is all going to be automated, and they will get their retirement with 8 to 9 months salary, and then go off into the sunset and retire and live a nice life. And in the process, because we're not going to be saddled with extra employees for years and years, the president estimates we will save $100 billion right off the bat. That's $100 billion that could be applied to help homeless vets and others who need the money in this country. And that is money that doesn't have to come from your tax dollars. 7:32, President Trump yesterday signed an executive order that'll cut federal support for gender transitions for people under the age of 19. If you're an adult and you want to transition, you do whatever you want. This is specifically federal dollars for people under 19. The order states, quote, it is the policy of the United States that it will not fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the so-called transition of a child from one sex to another, and it will rigorously enforce all laws that prohibit or limit these destructive and life-altering procedures. Let me point something out. Great Britain, which is now basically socialist, it is the great bastion of socialism. If you go on social media or ever went on social media and said something disparaging of a transgender person, like if 10 years ago you did it and they find it on your Facebook page from way back, you could be charged. That's how socialist, and that's how much of a lack of freedom of speech they have. They don't have a constitution like we have, that Great Britain is. So you cannot say something that would defame or in any way hurt the feelings of somebody who is transgender, okay? Even they have now outlawed in Great Britain. They did it earlier than us, about 2 years ago. They have outlawed any transitioning for anyone who is a minor. And somebody who is above the age of 18, who is a so-called major, anyone above the age of 18, an adult, they make you go through psychological testing, et cetera, before you go through with it, because more and more studies, which have never been published, although they've been conducted by large organizations, are showing that people who go through transitioning, in larger and larger numbers end up more depressed on the outside after than they were before. So if adults who go through it, who've apparently given it thought, are not pleased with the outcome later, you can't go back. You're done. So why would we make somebody who's 15, kids at 15, one day they want to be a dentist, the next day they want to fly rocket ships. Why would we let them make a decision on removing body parts at that age? So the president at this point has signed an executive order that says that the federal government, will not take part in that. Medicaid programs, by the way, currently in some states, more liberal states, are covering gender care. So the new order suggests that that practice could end and target hospitals and universities that are receiving federal dollars. So even if the states say it's okay, those states that receive federal dollars for their hospitals, they will stop getting the federal dollars unless they change their in-state Medicaid rule. It is likely to be challenged in court, of course. The push is the latest by Trump to reverse policies by the Biden administration to protect transgender people and their care. And just Monday, by the way, the Trump administration directed the Pentagon to conduct a review that's likely to lead to transgender individuals being barred from military service. We want to take your calls, 1-888-658-0234, 1-888-658-0234. It is 28 degrees right now. 7:35 is our time. And, the folks at ICE have been rounding up criminal illegal aliens at an increasing rate every day. At the same time, NGO organizations such as Catholic Charities, organizations that you probably contribute to, like I did for years, they have been warning illegals to fight back, advising them not to talk to ICE agents and to proclaim their rights under the Constitution. Right now, we are going to speak with Renata Castro, who is an immigration attorney, telling us all about the limitations of ICE's authority, what they have rights to do, what they don't have rights to do, and the rights of individuals who may be here illegally. So let's bring her on right now. Good morning. There she is. I can believe she's joining us right now. Renata, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for getting up early and joining us here on ONNJ Mornings. It's good to have you along.
Well, I guess immigration attorneys like myself are getting very little sleep these days.
Yeah, I would imagine. So first off, and I believe you work in South Florida, right? If I'm correct. And that's been a hotbed for immigration for many, many years. I lived full time in South Florida. I live there part time still. And in fact, I even worked with church groups that used to go out of their way to help people become legal. And that's the thing. That it's admirable what you do. You're helping people to become citizens, correct?
Yes, our job is to address our practice is South Florida based. We have an office in South Florida and Orlando, but we have clients nationwide. We represent overwhelmingly Brazilians, and New Jersey has been an actually much more active spot for immigration enforcement than Florida has.
Yeah, ICE has been coming at it. Seems it almost, you have to wonder if the administration is trying to send a little message to states and municipalities that have been declaring themselves sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, and it's sort of a finger in the eye to the governors and mayors of those states, because it seems that the ICE raids have been happening more in those states than in states that have been more friendly. Do you sense that?
Oh, without question. The reports of raids in so-called immigrant-friendly states in New Jersey, and surprisingly, we've been getting a lot of calls about Rhode Island, of all places. A lot of activity in Rhode Island, in Chicago, in California, not as much in Florida, but certainly immigration law and policy being utilized, not to say weaponized, to show that there is a new boss in town, and this new boss is going to make good on his promise to fight back against unlawful immigration.
I think, look, my family came from Italy to Argentina to the U.S. They waited years to get into the country. They did it the legal way. They struggled to get here. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are a nation of legal immigration. And I heard under the Biden administration for 4 years that our immigration laws are broken. How broken are they when we accept more people legally into the United States every year than every other nation on the planet combined? And we accept them legally. They're welcome to come in. There's just a process. There are 75 immigration laws, federal laws on the books right now that have, somehow we got 317 million people here. They all came, or their relatives came here from another place at some point. So somehow they weren't broken all those years. Why was the left declaring so loudly that the immigration laws were broken? Is it because they just don't want any immigration laws and just want the doors wide open?
I think to say that anyone wants doors wide open, that's something you wouldn't want in your home, and that's certainly not something you would want in your country. When we look at the reality of the application of immigration law from when, say, your parents came to the United States, or grandparents or great-grandparents, there simply were no immigration laws. You were processed by an immigration authority, and you were let in if you didn't have any visible, communicable, transmissible disease. We've come a long way from that. The challenge with immigration law is that even those who are really trying to stay in the country legally rarely find a way to do so. And when we look at individuals that are so-called storming the border, we have to understand the law behind it. These individuals that are seeking asylum, they are actually complying with the law when they present themselves at a port of entry. United States asylum law requires any individual who's seeking asylum protection from the United States to present him or herself at the port of entry. So it's a lot easier to say that we have an invasion in our country when less than 0.5% of migrants in the United States in unlawful status and in lawful status have any record of committing a crime. I'm talking about grave crimes that go beyond.
I'm going to pause you right there. Renata, I have to totally disagree, and here's why I can prove that you're wrong. With all due respect, here's why you're wrong. If sanctuary cities, which is where they all migrate to, if sanctuary cities don't make records of somebody being here legally and illegally, how do you know the person who committed the crime is an illegal migrant? You don't. So that's a fact. Listen, I have friends in the FBI, friends in the NYPD. They know, and they can't put it on the paperwork. So those statistics are just bull. With all due respect, they are bull. Because let me ask you this. If you come across illegally, you cannot get paperwork. So therefore, you cannot work here legally. You cannot get working papers. So by definition, you are committing a crime if you work in the United States at that point. So with all due respect, the only way they can get their money is either illegally working off the books or illegally robbing people. So when we hear that illegal migrants commit fewer crimes than American citizens, that is just a crock of crap. That is nothing but propaganda from the left, with all due respect. And I'm talking to you as a person. Yo puedo hablar español, yo falo portugués. I speak the languages, and I talk to the people, and I listen to Spanish talk radio, and I hear the people calling from Venezuela, and I hear the who are Venezolanos who come to the United States. So with all due respect, I'm not little white lily boy from Westchester County. I can speak the language, and I talk the talk, and I live part-time in Fort Lauderdale, where I listen to talk radio down there, and and I listen to Watto up here. I hear people calling in, and I hear the games that they play. So with all due respect, when I hear that, I didn't mean to step on you, but I have to disagree with that 0.5% is just nonsense.
And you know what? The beauty of people like yourself, whose parents came here following the law and now avail yourself of the freedoms and rights of the United States, is that they also came here seeking asylum. And these individuals that you say are either working illegally or robbing individuals are actually at a much higher percentage at compliance with paying taxes. And that is one of the indicators that we licensed immigration attorneys. The FBI does an acting immigration law, and a lot of local law enforcement, I have a lot of respect for them. They're already operating on limited resources and are now being made to do a job that, quite frankly, is not theirs. As I have the DEA working on immigration law, we were having this discussion. You have the Drug Enforcement Agency working on quote unquote dangerous migrants. Just a couple of days ago, we had a whole family, an individual who was seeking asylum in the United States, who was deported with her autistic kid. No criminal records. How do I know? I happen to know this person myself. I know her record. So I think that when we're looking at the propaganda that is being promoted, are there individuals who deserve to be deported? That is unquestionable. But are there individuals that are being weaponized, and that even worse, there are American citizens who are in favor of this ethnic cleansing that's going on, and they actually employ
Ethnic
these
cleansing.
undocumented
How about the
aliens.
25,000 Chinese nationals who walked across the border who have what other reason but a nefarious reason where they have to fly with a year's salary from Beijing to Mexico City, pay a mule, come across the San Diego border, 19 to 20,000. Why would they do that? And why would we not have arrested them right there and then? You have to question. You also have to question why. See, actually, the answer is pretty clear. It is obvious that when people come illegally by the tens or hundreds of thousands and settle in predominantly liberal cities, those cities will then get assigned extra congressional seats. Okay, even though the illegal migrants can't vote,
How
the Democrats who live in those cities can. And that's how you are ensured an extra 10, 15, 20 Democrats in Congress. It is so blatantly obvious. So, I mean, it is what it is.
well,
But go ahead, Vernon.
I
I'm sorry.
respect your position, but this conversation is so much more complex than that. When you look at several American employers who are hiring these individuals by the hundreds of thousands, and you refuse to acknowledge that the United States has a broken immigration system and that we, in fact, are impacted by the presence or absence of undocumented aliens, you're hiding your head in the sand as a country. This is not about what I think or what you think or what any individual thinks. It's about the collective. And the reason why I say that, respecting your personal opinion, but you're telling me anecdotes as a practicing immigration attorney who represents a lot of individuals who are actually very conservative. I received a call from someone who voted for Trump, who's very conservative, and he said, this is getting out of hand. It's one thing to deport criminals. It's another thing to refuse to arrest American citizens who are violating American labor laws and go unpunished and demonize immigrants who are coming to the United States. And you know what? Especially in New Jersey, there are a lot of migrants who fall prey to individuals who practice law without a license, notarios, consultants.
And
It
dentists
happens,
and
and it's
doctors,
a
right? It
problem.
happens. I agree with you. Listen, we're only because we're out of time. Let me thank you very much. And I'm sorry if it got heated. I didn't mean any disrespect to you. I think you're
No, I
wonderful.
appreciate the
Anybody,
opportunity.
yes. This is a healthy dialogue, and I think we need more of it. And I learned some stuff from you today, and I appreciate you coming on. Renata Castro, who is an immigration attorney, and I advise if you need one, give her a call because she can clearly help you. She argues the point beautifully. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I appreciate you. All
Thank
right.
you.
It is, you bet, 7:47 right now. It is 29 degrees. And just a reminder that 66% of all Americans, Democrat, Republican, and Independent, are for deportation for anyone who's here illegally. That's not mine. That's the Ipsos Axios poll that just was out from last week. So just want to let you know that. So if people say it's getting out of hand, then you got to blame the American people. We're coming right back. We'll have lots more right after this. very good morning to you. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings with Ken Rosato. I'm him, Ken Rosato. It is 7:49 right now. We have 30 degrees. And coming up in just a minute, our Laura Jones is going to be on. She's going to tell us all about the sentencing today of former disgraced Senator Robert Menendez. In the meantime, though, let's check our Garden State forecast. Meteorologist Mike Favetta tells us it's going to be breezy today, and we got a little messy mess coming up later in the week. Mike, good morning.
Yeah, I think that the headlines for today is the mild weather. I mean, you look at the temperature, you go, all right, 50 degrees in my neighborhood, we'll take it. It just lasts this afternoon. And if you're outside, you still need to bundle up because those winds will be howling through the rest of this afternoon. So even though, yes, it's very mild, anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees above average, depending on your location in New Jersey, those winds will be howling upwards of 30 miles per hour this afternoon. The reason for the wind is the front that comes through later on today. That brings in the very cold weather back down into freezing territory for tomorrow. Wind chills below zero. It's going to be another cold morning. And then with all that cold weather that moves in for tomorrow, it sets the stage for some potential icing in northern New Jersey by Friday morning. We'll talk more about that up next. 51 and sunny in Hamilton today. 51 as well in Egg Harbor City, down toward Ocean City and Avalon. Not bad for late January, 49 degrees for you. Back over in Salem and Glassboro, low 50s. So with all of this mild weather today, it'll feel quite pleasant again until that gusty wind takes over. And it really starts howling this afternoon. There's the front that passes through later today. The clear sky, thanks to the high pressure in control, keeping our air clear for the day tomorrow. Also pretty still. I think we'll have less wind throughout the day, although it'll be harshly cold. And then this is the next system that moves in. It comes in just the right position and angle to start off with that little bit of freezing rain. And then once that warm front here, shown in red, lifts to the north, it allows for all of that moisture to ride on in, providing the warm air, changing any of that frozen precip to plain rain. And then we end the day on Friday with a plain rain, but a good soaking that we could use given how dry it's been. Then as we head into Saturday, nice clear weather sets the stage for a pretty start to the weekend, but Sunday may bring back another clipper as that likely slides off to our north, and we could see a few flakes and flurries up in northern New Jersey by Sunday evening. And that's what you see in the long range futurecast here. A lot of that shade of blue yet again up in upstate New York. So we likely just got clipped by that next clipper later Sunday night. It shouldn't be too impactful, but something for the northern counties in New Jersey to watch. And then going into Wednesday and Thursday of next week, we're in that pattern every 2 to 3 days, have another weather event on our heels. Look at that spike for Friday, up to 90%. So yeah, it's going to rain, and it's going to rain quite heavily throughout the afternoon on Friday, and then with less of a chance of rain this weekend, looking dry, especially for Saturday, but pleasant by the time we get to, I think, Sunday morning. Here's that forecast for freezing rain. So this is one computer model that shows that there will likely be that glaze developing on colder surfaces throughout Friday morning, just after midnight into around 3 a.m. And it may actually accumulate, or what glaze does is it doesn't necessarily accumulate technically, it accretes. It creates that icy, crusty glaze, kind of like on Ken's favorite glazed donut, if you will. So as that ice accretes to about 1/10 of an inch, that's some serious business up there in Sussex County and even toward Warren County, right there north of Route 80 is the most impactful area. And then it all melts and changes to a plain rain through the rest of the morning beyond the morning commute. But it's something to watch, especially with the ice impacts that could spread as far south as Route 78, even entering portions of Hunterdon County, over there in Somerset County, and down toward the northern fringes of Mercer County. So limited ice impacts with some isolated minor impacts there right along the highway and the hills as you head over toward Watchung and further west. The 7-day forecast shows that freezing rain on the map for Friday, quickly changing to rain after sunrise, and the highs climb to 44 by the afternoon. Saturday is nice and sunny. It looks to be a beautiful start to the weekend, but Sunday has that potential for more snow. Again, mostly clouds, maybe a few passing flakes and flurries to the north, and then we really warm things up on Monday, 50 degrees or better statewide, with highs that will drop back down into the 40s by Tuesday. The shore points, it's a plain rain for you on Friday. No threat of ice with highs climbing to 50, and even the overnight temperature stays above the freezing mark. With Saturday and Sunday looking good. Again, any of those flakes or flurries will be well north, so not impacting the shore points on Sunday. Monday and Tuesday of next week, kicking off February with a little bit of a mild start, Ken. So looking not terrible. I mean, I like what we see here. Lots of 40s, a couple 50s on the 7-day. Not as harsh as it could be to finish up January.
You know what we used to say when I worked at Channel 7? Off the air. Of course, we never said it on air. We used to say, it doesn't suck a lot. And we could say that because we're streaming. It doesn't suck a lot. There you go. All right. Good. Until the boss tells us, Ken, don't ever say that again. All right. Thank you so much, meteorologist Mike Favetta. We appreciate you. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. And our phone lines are open right now, 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. You know, back in July, Senator Bob Menendez was found guilty of accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars of bribes in exchange for using his position as a senator and on important committees to enrich and protect three businessmen and the governments of Egypt and Qatar. The three-term Democrat leveraged that position to cater to the whims of men who showered him and his wife with 1 kilogram gold bars. He was shoving them in his pockets, cash, and even gifts, including a Mercedes convertible that his wife was driving around. Well, today, that disgraced former senator will get his sentence. And joining us now is New Jersey politics host Laura Jones. Good morning, Laura. Sorry to keep you waiting, and thank you for getting up early with us today. I appreciate you.
Good to see you again.
You bet. Tell us what led up to Menendez's conviction for those who don't recall the story. And this is the second go around. He got away with it the first time with a hung jury, and he decided to keep going at it. So tell us all about this.
Yeah. So back in 2017, he was accused of using his influence to help a optometrist down in Florida. That ended up, he was not convicted on that. So this time he was accused and found guilty on 16 counts of using his office and acting as a foreign agent. So today he's going to go before a judge in Manhattan. Prosecutors are asking for 15 years in prison. They're saying he is one of the most corrupt senators in U.S. history. His team, his legal team, is a really fantastic legal team. They're saying, listen, the prosecution, they really overblew this. They're asking for no more than 27 months. But there's a possibility that he may not get any. Well, there's a good possibility he's not going to go to jail today because he is going to probably appeal this. He said he's going to appeal this. But some of the issues, some of the things that he did, you couldn't write a movie script to, Ken. They found gold bars in his office, again, for helping to peddle influence to the Egyptian government. And again, he was found guilty of acting as a foreign agent, and he sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee, a very, very powerful position. His wife was also charged. Her trial was set to start relatively soon, but that's being pushed back to March now because she's undergoing breast cancer treatment. And he is accused of helping a realtor and in exchange for getting her a Mercedes. But again, when the FBI raided his home, they found gold bars, they found cash stuffed in envelopes, really something that you would expect out of a movie script. But it happened here in New Jersey and giving us, quite a black eye, even in a state known for a lot of corruption.
I was going to say, this is like The Godfather. It's like from the 1970s when you see mobsters shoving, wads of cash, or Breaking Bad when they didn't know what to do with the cash because they had to launder it, right? I mean, this is something you don't think that a U.S. senator with the authority and the power that he had, especially after he got away with it the first time with a hung jury, and I have to put in air quotes, a hung jury. You got to wonder how that jury got hung. But the fact that God gave you a second chance. I would have given away everything I had, including my clothing, and said, here, I'll be St. Francis and just live life anew. But no, to be so greedy, greed catches up. Money is the root of all evil. And this is what happens. Now he's going to die a disgraced man, maybe in jail. Who knows? Or maybe, like you said, he might not go to jail at all. We'll see what happens with the justice system. Laura Jones, Inside Politics. You go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to say, I sat through that very first trial, and it was extraordinary. And his co-conspirator, Dr. Melton, he did go to jail. And one of the things that his legal team is arguing is they're saying, after everything that has happened, please don't say, they actually are asking for 27 months or they would like less time served, community service, because of all of the good work that he has done. So, we'll see what happens. And they're also saying, well, he's not really a flight risk. Because, of everything that's happened. And I'm thinking, well, gosh, if you look back to the other case where, again, he was found, well, the hung jury. Like you said, it does make you wonder
Yeah, and
how
it
would this happen.
probably
But
the
Menendez says he's not guilty. He still maintains
and
he's
then
not guilty, that
there were
this
the
is a
rumors that
misunderstanding.
he was a frequent passenger on the rumors, of course. I can't prove this, but on the Epstein plane, et cetera, et cetera. So he could definitely get access to people's planes. And he was on Melgen's plane, right? Wasn't that a private jet that he was flying back and forth on? That was one of the problems he had.
Melgen accused of but not found guilty of, and I have no information on the Epstein plane. I don't. No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
That.
I don't either. I'm just reading rumors online, and this is streaming, so we're saying it. So, Laura Jones, New Jersey politics host, you are the best. Thank you so much for joining us early in the morning. We appreciate you and always love to watch you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, when we come back, millions of Americans downloaded the Chinese AI app DeepSeek in spite of the fact that every keystroke on their phones and laptops will now be monitored by the communist Chinese government. We are going to tell you what Meta chairman Mark Zuckerberg is doing about it. You are good morning. It is Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. I'm Ken Rosato. This is On New Jersey Mornings. We are an interactive morning show, so give us a call, chime in on our topics. The number 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. It is 30 degrees. We check in with the Garden State forecast. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has all the details for us. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey, Ken, good morning to you. Highs today climbed to 50 in many locations in New Jersey. Not so bad for the end of January, but it's that little gusty wind that kind of, well, is the problem, because with wind chills this morning, making it feel like the 20s statewide, only 32 in Ship Bottom, a little bit less of a wind right now in Atlantic City. We'll see these winds gust throughout the day, adding to the very frigid feel through this afternoon. So while now wind gusts anywhere from, say, as low as 9 miles per hour in Long Branch up to 25 miles per hour in Cape May, they could gust as high as 30 or 35 miles per hour this afternoon. That gives us a forecast wind chill back down in the teens later on this afternoon, but later tonight, we're sub-zero up in Sussex and Morristown, minus or negative numbers showing up there. By tomorrow morning, we warm, if you will, back up to 5 degrees, feeling like 5 in Morristown, feels like 4 in Sussex, feels like 9 tomorrow morning in Newark, and feels like 11 in Long Branch. Not even relief down over toward the southern point. So places like Atlantic City, feels like 16 degrees, feels like 21 in Millville, a very cold start to the day, despite the fact we'll have a milder finish to this afternoon. But what happens next is the front that arrives, allowing for that cold weather to be locked in place, and that allows for some very cold weather to stick around in the northern sections of the state, even though the breezes are pushing off from the south by Friday morning, which brings in the rain. There could be some icing and freezing rain glaze take over throughout Friday morning. Notice the difference in temperatures here. Again, it's a forecast wind chill, but still holding right around the freezing mark, if not below freezing, through 9 a.m. Friday with that cold weather. And then right along the turnpike, you see that change in the colors, the blue shade up north and the yellow down south, showing a little bit more of that milder weather. Speaking of mild weather, where is it? Well, the bigger picture, Ken, going into the next few weeks shows that the first half of February should be above average. Florida, the place to be. It's also going to be drier there. Here in the Northeast, equal chances of rain going forward. So the 7-day forecast shows that rain for Friday, starting off as a freezing rain and glaze throughout the early morning, only in northern New Jersey, and then transitioning to a sunny start to the weekend with some clouds and snowflakes arriving by Sunday. Maybe a few flurries up north, but I think we ultimately get back to 50 by Monday. So starting to see the light at the end of a pretty long, dark, and harshly cold winter tunnel, Ken. I see a lot of the memes, Ken, on Instagram that show, how this is like the 400th day of January. Yeah, it just keeps on going, even with the weather.
Yeah, look, it's an ugly month. It's a cold month. And I like how
Yeah.
you mentioned Florida, where I have the condo. And I'm just going to say that if you see me doing the morning show some days and I suddenly look a little more tan, luxury of remote broadcast, yeah, I'll let you figure out the rest. All right, there
It'll
you go.
be our secret. When I see the palm tree swing in the background, I'll know something's up.
There is a guy in my building at Fort Lauderdale who works for Sirius XM Radio and actually does his show in the afternoon on Sirius XM Jazz. Am I giving it all away? His name is Mark. In the afternoon, he does it from the balcony overlooking the swimming pool. I'm just telling
Oh,
you.
that's not bad.
So that's our little
Not a bad
secret.
office.
Not at all. All right, meteorologist Mike Pavetta, thank you so much. We'll check back in just a little bit. It is 8:07 now. The drones are ours. Yesterday, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced the drones flying over New Jersey all along. They were ours all along. And former President Biden knew it all along, yet he kept it from New Jersey officials and residents. The question is why? Who knows? The drones were authorized by the FAA to do research, study, and various other reasons. That's what they tell us. So Biden knew they were our drones and apparently lied to the media and to the general public and to our elected officials locally. He even had the FAA, you'll recall, announce restrictions for certain parts of New Jersey, again, knowing full well the drones were ours and were already authorized to fly where they were flying. All right, it is 8:08 right now. Hey, who doesn't like pizza? I ask you. Doesn't like pizza. I love pizza. In fact, I could probably eat pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 20 times a day because that's how much I eat. I have a guy right now named Guy Madsen who's joining us. Guy is the king of pizza. You founded Pizza Joints, right? New Jersey Pizza Joints. And this weekend is the 5th annual New Jersey Pizza Bowl. You know what? Let's just drop the New Jersey part. We got the best pizza in the whole country. So there is only one pizza bowl, and it is in New Jersey at Red's in Carlstadt, in the shadow of the Meadowlands, and it's this Saturday. Welcome to you, Guy Madsen. Nice to have you on.
Hey, Ken, first off, it's great to have you back on Jersey Airways. And yes, you are perpetually tan. You've been tan throughout your career. It's great to see you continuing that process along the way. And you're right. New Jersey is the Napa Valley of pizza. Without question, we know where the best slices are. And if you were to ask almost anyone in the state of New Jersey who's got the best pizza, we've got strong opinions. They're going to tell you. So our group that founded about 5 years ago during COVID to really help small mom and pops survive the pandemic and bring a community together has grown from about 25 people to about 122,000, a little under 5 years. So what we do is we start with a poll for about a month, and the top 4 vote getters in North, Central, and South Jersey get a bid and invited to Bake Off Live in front of about 150 judges and about 350 spectators at Reds on the Pro Bowl weekend, if you will, in between the playoffs and the Super Bowl, which used to be Pro Bowl weekend. Now it's Pizza Bowl weekend.
I love it. That's the best. And by the way, I used to be a New York market pizza snob, and I always thought, because I was from Lower Westchester County, and we had a pizzeria. You know this story, my backstory. And just for the record, I have been invited, and I have done this in the past, to judge. So I will be one of those judges this coming Saturday. So I just want to get on the record so everybody's aware, and I'm proud to be. Look at that. Look at that. Thank you. Is that my idea?
That is.
I love it. Thank you, sir. I'm proud to wear that. And hopefully I'll be sitting next to my buddy Joe Nolan. I used to work with at Channel 7 years ago. And he and I are, let's just say that we could do damage to a pie or two. All right. The nice thing about Jersey is, and you mentioned, there are so many opinions and there's so many great pizzerias. I don't know about you. Some days I want the thin and crispy. Some days I want the traditional New York, as they call it, a New York style slice. And now, when I first tasted real Neapolitan style, at first I thought it was bland. Now I really go for that too, with the fior di latte or the bufala mozzarella and all. Let's just put it this way: there isn't a bad one. Which one is your favorite?
Really hard to say. It depends upon, it's subjective, right? Everyone tastes are different. Depends where in the state I am. If you're down in the Trenton Lawrenceville area or Medford, a little south, tomato pie rules. Whereas in North Jersey, you really don't find them unless you seek them out. What's come on strong lately are more thinner, well done pies with less crust than we may have grown up with, more sauce and cheese to the end. But then you have the whole proliferation of square pies, whether they be thin nana pies or more thicker traditional Sicilian pies, as we may have grown up in. And I know your family did grow up. You guys had, I believe, a pizzeria, and I believe you make your own cheese at home. Is that true?
I did for a while. I made my own cheese. I used to make my own wine. All of it, and of course, I had my own poolish. And for those who don't know, that's the fermenting element that gives pizza dough kind of a natural yeast and a good flavor in the background. I used to do all of that. Now I let the others do it. I got lazy as I'm getting older, because here's the thing. You used to just have some store brands that were kind of Now the stuff in the stores is actually good, and the local pizzerias do it so well. They're such artisans. It takes such an effort. Why even bother? We're lucky. If you go to the Midwest, maybe you got to do it yourself. Here in the Northeast, especially in Jersey, the pizzerias try to outdo each other. They're one better than the other. It's hard to find a bad one here. And you mentioned the thin crust. Like I'll say it by name. Star Tavern is one of them. And of course, I'm forgetting the other. Right. Amazing. You could sit there, and because it's so thin, it's like a cracker. You could eat the whole pizza in 2 minutes and not even look back. It's amazing. I'm forgetting what's the other one in Caldwell. What's the other thin crust in Caldwell that won? I think they won last year.
Yeah. Angeloni's is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Angeloni's. Again, it's a celebration. It's more like an adult pizza party. We do about 500 people. We bring these communities together, but the benefit of bringing this together is a charity called Tunnels to Towers Foundation. In 3 events to date, we've raised roughly $35,000 for Americans' heroes. And we have a very strong presence from the fire service, police, local government. We do plan on raising over 15 for this one day, which will bring us over $50,000 for just 4 events to date. So really appreciate your help, your participation, and really looking forward to seeing you in person.
I am honored. From the first time you and I had a conversation, I think we spoke an hour and a half on the phone. I've been in love with you since, my friend. You are just the best. You're
Thank you.
such passion, and I appreciate that so much. And the fact that you're raising so much money for Tunnel to Towers, which is one of the best. I cry every time I see their spots on TV because of what they do for our veterans and for
Yep.
our law enforcement and first responders who get injured or killed, and they help their families to pay off their mortgages. It's such an amazing charity. Thank you for helping them out. I'll be there. And yes, I'll bring a donation too. What time do you need me there, by the way, on Saturday?
A little before 3 p.m.
All right. That's when I will be there, sir. And if you need me earlier, you let me know. Guy Madsen, Pizza Bowl. Oh, before we go, how do people get tickets if they want to still get tickets if they can?
Well, there are some tickets available. General admission. It is purely a donation, and it'll go directly to Tunnels to Towers. Eventbrite has the few remaining tickets that we have available. If not, if you come to the door, you'll scan a QR code. It goes directly to Tunnels to Towers. You show us that you paid, and you get a credential to get in, and you celebrate. It's an all-you-can-eat event. Pizza, meatballs, a lot of other food. 2 bands. We have Eddie Brigatti of the Young Rascals, for those that may remember all the hits that they've done. It's really quite a party, and looking forward to enjoying it with you.
Guy, I can't wait to see you, my friend. I know you always run around crazed when you're there because you want to make sure you say hi to everybody. So even if you can only say hi for a second, I appreciate it because I know how busy you are, but I can't wait to see you. And it's such a fun and festive atmosphere. Everybody's eating, drinking, having a good time and raising money for a good charity at the same time. Pizza Bowl 5 at Reds in Carlstadt. It is so exciting to be in the shadow of the MetLife Stadium right there. So thank you so much again, Guy. We will see you this Saturday for Pizza Bowl 5. Have a great one.
Thank you so much, Ken. Good luck.
Thank you, pal. You bet. You too. It is now 31 degrees already. Wow, it's warmer than yesterday. Certainly. It's 8:16. When we come back, we will certainly have more on the fallout of the AI app DeepSeek. You are watching on New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back. 31 degrees at 8:19. ICE is rounding up criminal illegal aliens at an increasing rate every day. At the same time, NGOs, organizations such as Catholic Charities, organizations that you and I likely contribute or have contributed to, have been warning illegals to fight back, advising them don't talk to ICE agents and to proclaim their rights under the Constitution. They've even been handing illegal migrants cards to look directly into the eyes of ICE agents and basically read them their rights. They're not citizens, they're here illegally, but yet they're proclaiming rights that they supposedly have under our Constitution, even though they broke into your country and mine illegally, and they are using our resources. How do you feel about that? Give us a call, 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. 8:20 right now. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the full Garden State forecast. It's windy, but it is 31 degrees right now and getting up to the upper 40s.
Upper 40s, could hit 50 degrees in some places, Ken. So looks pretty decent, especially as we head into this afternoon. It just won't feel like spring or feel very warm. One, because of the wind, gusting up to 30 miles per hour today. And two, there's ice in the forecast in northern sections of New Jersey. So wanted to give you a little refresher on some of the winter precip and kind of what it does and how it forms here in New Jersey. We know about the plain rain. That's what most of New Jersey gets on Friday, but there will be some sections of the Garden State, specifically in northern New Jersey, that will see that snow in the higher elevations and the higher sections of the atmosphere freeze to say a snow and then melt to a liquid raindrop, but there's just enough cold air in there for that raindrop to turn back to a supercooled liquid raindrop and freeze on contact. When the cold air is a little bit higher in the column and goes up higher in the atmosphere, there's more time for that liquid raindrop, which melts, to turn back to an ice pellet, and that's how we get sleet. Then, of course, the snow is simply when we have all of the column of air staying frozen, giving us all of that plain, steady rain. So here's what's going on with the rain. When the snow rather falls from the cloud, have plenty of time to melt and stays above freezing, we get liquid rain. But what will happen on Friday morning is there'll be just enough cold air due to tomorrow's and tonight's cold front, leading to a very cold day tomorrow, allowing for that snow to melt to a liquid raindrop and then refreeze on contact, because the air isn't that cold at the surface or deep enough to allow for that raindrop to freeze back to a solid ice pellet, and so it causes the icy glaze. And that's an issue, especially the colder surfaces, the overpasses, the car tops, and even some of the train platforms, those that are elevated, causing issues there. Now, once we have some colder weather in the northern and the higher elevations, there's enough of that snow to freeze to a ice pellet, and that's what causes that sleet that happens. We see some time of year, and then of course the coldest weather, when the frozen air and the freezing weather, it goes all the way up to the clouds, allowing for the snow to remain. So with the freezing rain that's in the forecast, it happens later on tomorrow night into early Friday morning. You see that glaze there shown up in a light shade of pink, predominantly northern sections of Morris County, as well as Sussex County and Warren County. So those will be the areas that I think will see the potential for even as much as 1/10 of an inch of a glaze. That's that icy, crusty, clear coating that you'd see, and it just kind of looks plain wet. So there are ice impacts for if you're traveling west of 287 along I-280 or along Route 78. Those areas may see some problems early Friday morning due to that icy glaze. Now, the good news is it doesn't last long. We're back to a plain rain by Friday after sunrise, so by 7, 8 a.m., we're fine. Even in the north, most of New Jersey stays a plain rain, so it's really limited to the northernmost sections of the state for the early part of the pre-dawn hours on Friday. Saturday brings back lots of clear skies, sunshine to start the weekend, a beautiful day, cold, but it's what you'd expect. That's average cold for January, actually starting off February 1st, on Saturday. And then by Sunday into Monday, we see a nice little temperature spike up to 50 degrees by Monday. Same for you in southern New Jersey, although it's just a plain rain for Friday. You deal with the cold tomorrow just like everyone else. Saturday and Sunday clearing out, maybe some extra clouds Sunday because a lot of that Clipper system stays off to the north by Sunday afternoon. And then Monday, look at that high at 51 degrees. So starting to creep our way back into above average territory. days are getting longer, Ken. So looks nice as we head into the first few days of February. And maybe we keep this trend going, warm it up day by day.
I like that idea of warming up. I'm going to broach a subject that I know is touchy among
Let's hear it.
meteorologists. You pointed out, you know where I'm going. You pointed out that Saturday is February 1st. That means
Yes.
Sunday is February 2nd.
Sure.
It's Groundhog Day.
It is
That's the
Groundhog Day.
ground.
So glad I'm not working Sunday, so I don't have to deal with the rodent that makes my life a little nutty that day. Pardon the pun. I don't even know if groundhogs eat nuts, but regardless, it's just it's a fun folklore thing. I love it when the Farmer's Almanac comes out with their prediction every year, saying that the Northeast is going to be cold and blustery. Really? You think? It's
In
winter.
Go figure. How did that ever happen? And then you'll have the environmentalists screaming, "It's global warming." I mean, it's environmental. It's climate change. I'm sorry, I had to. I know,
There's so much, but
that's another sensitive issue.
it's all about it. It's fun folklore for kids. They sing the songs in school. I did as a kid. It's fine. It's fine.
So I shouldn't go out and put traps for the rodent.
I mean, if it decimates your tomatoes, absolutely. There's no right to be anywhere near your garden.
And then we have the town in New Jersey where they couldn't hold it the 5 years in a row or something. They can't hold the rodent fest. Their groundhog. But anyway, we got others. We got Staten Island Chuck, and wasn't there's one at the zoo, the Turtleback Zoo. They got a great
Yep,
rodent there too.
there's
So
a bunch. There's a bunch.
bring a carrot and don't believe the forecast from them. All right, we got the right guy right here. Thank you very much, meteorologist Mike Favetta. We appreciate you, my friend. It is 8:26 right now, and temperature is 32 degrees. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is scrambling after a small Chinese startup called DeepSeek, we talked about this yesterday, drove the Silicon Valley insane with its chatbot app. Well, the company's latest AI model can run circles around the competition from Meta, OpenAI, and Anthropic at a tiny fraction of the cost. Despite some skepticism over DeepSeek's claims, the debut has worried many AI investors, with the ChatGPT competitor wiping out $1 trillion in value Monday, among other AI companies. In the most extreme example, AI chipmaker NVIDIA set a new record for the biggest single-day loss of any company anywhere in history. They lost $1 trillion. And it seems the app caught Meta by surprise. In response, the company assembled several so-called war rooms of engineers. It's an attempt to get ahead of a potential digital disaster. Over the weekend, Zuckerberg committed $60 billion to AI-related capital expenditures for this year alone. 827, once again, 888-658-0234 is our number, 888-658-0234. New York Magazine being slammed for editing out Black and Hispanic attendees from a front cover spread on the so-called young and gleeful and casually cruel, as they called it, MAGA faithful, as the title implied. A loser reporter, that's my personal take on him. His name is Christopher Barnard. He chronicled an inauguration party that happened in Washington, January 20th, election night, or I should say inauguration night, at Butterworth's Bistro, alongside a bunch of young Republicans celebrating President Trump's return to the White House. After the report made the front page of New York Magazine, the publication got called out. Why? Well, they were trying to imply that this was an all-white affair and people of color need not apply. Turns out they cropped the picture really tight, showing a tiny group of mostly white people. And we don't know who's white and who's Hispanic among them, but it looked like a white crowd of about 7 people. And when you widen out and show the rest of the picture was probably about 30 to 40% people of color. But they once again tried to spell a narrative that Trump people are misogynists and racists and evil. And this is the narrative that the left has been trying to paint over and over again. And it has to make you wonder, if they're the ones who keep going after race and trying to call the other side racist, who's the real racist? They seem to live, eat, breathe, smell race. It's all about race. Well, they're the ones who have the problem. And by the way, the person who threw that inauguration ball, his name is CJ Pearson. He's conservative and he is black. So he personally invited the people to that inauguration ball. Personally, C.J. Pearson, a proud Black Republican, and the person over at New York Magazine who didn't do his due diligence even took the picture from C.J. Pearson and cropped it. So it wasn't even New York Magazine's own picture that they cropped. It was stupidly a picture that belonged to C.J. Pearson, the host of the party. Got to scratch your head and wonder. 32 degrees right now, 8:29. When we come back, we now know about all those drones over New Jersey, and Globe editor David Wildstein has the inside edge for you. You're watching ONNJ Mornings. You can see us on ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, X, and even other places. We're coming right back. And good morning to you. It is Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. I'm Ken Rosato. This is ONNJ Mornings, 32 degrees at 8:32. Careful when you head outside, though it is mild. It is windy. The winds might blow you away. We check the Garden State forecast right now. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has it for us. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey, good morning to you, Ken. We've got a very decent afternoon ahead. Highs climbing into the low 50s across some parts of New Jersey. But the trouble is there's plenty of wind around today, and it's all due to a front that moves in throughout this afternoon. It's kind of being dragged along by this snow off to the north. So we'll take the cold and the windy feel, as long as it doesn't mean more snow, especially this is the nuisance, kind of middle of the day snow that they're dealing with upstate. Now, a few of these little bloops that you see here on the that's the official scientific term, blips, on the radar picture. Those are the snow squalls that'll be working through northern sections of Pennsylvania and may clip sections of northern New Jersey, specifically western Passaic County, Morris County, even Sussex and Warren County later on this afternoon, right around the lunch hour. So be aware, might run into a quick rogue flurry or quick sprinkle with some grapple later on today. That's an actual scientific term, grapple. But at least in central New Jersey, highs for you, no threat of snow there. Climb to 50 over in Point Pleasant, 50 as well in Toms River. Another mild day, at least it'll appear that way in Freehold, just to protect yourself from those gusty winds over at Freehold. 49 in Roosevelt and 49 as well in Mount Holly and over in Fort Dix. So with the high today, well above our average of 40 degrees, we'll take it. No rainfall, but that's also been the case for most of the month, even though we picked up quite a bit of snow earlier this month statewide, whether you were in the south portion of the state or up north. You saw the snowflakes fall, didn't really add to our reservoirs. And that's the concern, how dry it's been precip-wise for the month of January, because while all that snow fell, it only melts down to less than an inch of liquid water content. So with the rest of the afternoon featuring those gusty breezes, upwards of 30, 35 miles per hour there toward LBI, it's going to be cold later on. It's the wind direction shift. Notice the arrows blowing from the northwest to the southeast. That's the front pushing in and dragging in really some very cold weather from Canada, making it feel chilly and keeping it cold throughout tomorrow morning. So while the gusts relax throughout the day tomorrow, it's going to be brutally cold because the damage will have been done. All of those wind chills will be down below zero at times. There's your 1 degree in Morristown. Later on tonight, 11 o'clock tonight, feels like 0 in Sussex, 9 in Hackensack, 11 in Long Branch. And then early tomorrow morning, feels chilly. Feels like 5 in Morristown, 10 in Flemington, and feels like 13 over in Trenton. So a cold start to the day, even though there won't be a whole lot of wind tomorrow afternoon. It just feels quite chilly all throughout the day. Then with the wind pushing in from the south, the wind's coming from all directions. Over the next 48 hours, the southerly breeze helps push in that rainfall, and that's an issue with the cold, because notice by 9 a.m. Friday, we have wind chills that are holding right around the freezing mark. And where you're south and east of the turnpike, those temperatures have already warmed into the low 50s. The problem is that could promote some freezing rain, and that's what the Futurecast shows later on tomorrow night into early on Friday morning. There are those little blips on the radar screen, those passing snow flurry bursts that could come through today. But the real issue is later Friday night into early Friday morning, you see that area of pink develop here on the Futurecast, and that's the freezing rain that will briefly move in early on in the day, quickly change over to a plain rain, but there could be a prolonged period before dawn that may allow for some ice accretion or some icy glaze on the coldest surfaces in the most extreme northern part of the state. By noon Friday, we're pushing 56 degrees in Toms River, so a very mild finish to the day. Notice where that wind is coming off of the water there in Atlantic City, much colder, because the water temperature is only 40, 42 degrees. It's been so cold that a lot of the closest areas and a lot of those back bays there by Egg Harbor City are all frozen, and so that's influencing local temperatures. But beyond that, like Barnegat Bay, for instance, totally frozen over. We've seen some of the ice skating that's been going on there and some of the fun winter activities. But with that milder weather coming in for Friday, as that system exits, gives us a good rainfall and good soaking to hopefully just in time for the end of the month end what was a pretty dry month. Look at these rainfall totals, forecasting estimates anywhere from 1 to 2 inches down south, where the rain is needed most. And this kind of corresponds to the drought monitor, which updates every week. It's been so dry that the extreme drought, shown in red, continues for sections of all of our Ocean County, the most extreme southern sections of Monmouth County, and even down through Burlington and Atlantic counties, whereas the rest of the state's still under a moderate to severe drought. It's all because of the lack of rainfall. Again, even though we saw snow, it doesn't really amount to much when it melts. The liquid content is pretty light, so 29% of average rainfall there in Toms River, and we keep it dry with that 1 to 2 inch rainfall deficit in the last 30 days across most of the state. So we've been running very dry, but at least we help to end that, I think, or do better by the time we get to Friday. Saturday clears out, beautiful start to the weekend, and then Sunday may have another opportunity to see some potential for light snow, maybe a raindrop mixed in the northernmost sections of the state by later on Sunday afternoon. It's one to watch. So lots of changes, even day by day, hour by hour, Ken, as we look ahead to the forecast, wrapping up the month of January.
Mike, and I'm so glad we are getting some precipitation there, because a lot of people forget that this time of year, when you don't have precipitation, the pine barrens down in those areas of South Jersey, inland a bit, right? When they get super dry, all you need is somebody out there with a campfire. They don't put it out right, and you could literally set hundreds, if not thousands, of acres of land. We saw it in California, and this is dry season, and that's a very dangerous thing. So we really do need buckets of precipitation. We hope for extra rain. And then in the summertime, if we don't get a lot of snowfall in the winter, doesn't that lead to big droughts in the summer, right? Because the mountains don't have any
because
collection.
our reservoirs were pretty dry going into this winter. We've had a dry January, and so that not only leads to the concern, like you said, the more imminent brush fire season, our red flag season here in New Jersey, even as something as simple as the iron rails, the train tracks, just the commuter rails. We see that naturally create sparks, the metal on metal, and we've seen the flames and the wildfires be sparked by something like that, completely unintentionally, but that's what causes these brush fires to happen so quickly and spread so rapidly, especially with these windy days that we've had so frequently.
So let's keep our fingers crossed. Lots of rain right now, just not all on one day. Let's have a little bit each day so we don't get floods. We don't want that. All right, meteorologist Mike Pavetta will check in one last time in just a little bit. Thank you so much. It is 32 degrees at 8:39 right now. And just an interesting little tidbit. You know how President Trump's been saying that the United States needs Greenland. We need Greenland for our national security. I want you to think about something. Because, President Trump, while other world leaders play checkers, President Trump plays chess. He's very strategic. A lot of people on the left think he's stupid. This guy is super, super smart. In fact, many people in the tech sector, Silicon Valley, having met with him, have now said that he is way smarter than people give him credit for. President Trump has been saying that members of NATO have not been paying their fair share or helping out, keeping everybody safe, that the load has been on the United States, which is why, you look at socialism in Europe, it's rampant. Why? They don't have to pay for defense. The United States pays hundreds of billions, actually over $1 trillion in defense. And we protect predominantly them in order to protect us. If they were doing their job, we wouldn't have to do that. But because we're worried about the history, of course, of Germany, the history of Japan, we don't necessarily want those countries having massive militaries. So we stepped in from the 1940s. We have stepped in to be the military leaders, and we've patrolled that area. When we formed NATO, we wanted a little more help from all those countries in Europe. We got a little help, but not that much. Well, fast forward to President Trump saying that we need to take over Denmark. And you'd say, what right does he have to say that? Well, considering, number one, not take over Denmark, but Greenland. Number one, Denmark, 800 years ago, forcefully took over Greenland. The people who lived there, the native Indians, the Native American Indians, if you will, who lived there, the Inuits, they never asked to be taken over. So they were colonized by Denmark. So Denmark, laying claim to that giant chunk of ice, they have no more right than anybody else. And the Inuits there say they don't consider themselves Danish. They don't consider themselves American, but they are physically part of North America. That's number one. Number two, there are only 57,000 people who live on that entire chunk of land. And it's like a third the size of Canada in terms of land mass. It's huge. Denmark ends up paying them 50 plus billion a year to run themselves because there are there's like no infrastructure. Even to go from town to town, you have to use the water because there's no road system. And Greenland has asked the US to come in and build an infrastructure. So when President Trump says, let us take over, we'll build an infrastructure, we'll build highways. We already have 2 military bases there, so we protect the island. Denmark doesn't protect the island. All of a sudden, now that Trump is saying what he said, that he needs to take over Greenland, Denmark has just announced they're going to spend $2 billion. There are only about 5 or 6 million people in all of Denmark, by the way, so they don't have a big economy. But they're now going to spend $2 billion putting their ships, whatever few ships they have, along the coast of Greenland to protect it. Think about this. Maybe this was Trump's goal all along. Maybe Trump was trying to get them to pony up some money and some military resources to put them in the waters in that area. They're still going to be working in coordination with NATO, but finally, Denmark is ponying up and getting the military to show up outside of Greenland. Maybe that was Trump's plan all along. In other news, the drones are ours. Yesterday, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced the drones were ours all along. Former President Biden, he knew it all along. Yet he kept that information from New Jersey state and local officials and the residents of the Garden State. Why? Well, who knows? The drones were authorized by the FAA apparently to do research, study, and various other reasons. That's what we're told. It doesn't tell us a whole lot, but at least we know they're ours. But Biden knew they were our drones, and he lied to the media and to the general public. He even had the FAA announce restrictions over certain parts of New Jersey. Again, he knew full well when he did this that the drones were ours and they were authorized. Why wouldn't he just come forward and tell us that? Well, we will talk more about this through the morning and through the week as we get more information about the drones, of course. But you have to scratch your head and wonder what the deal is with that. David Wildstein is in now, and he has some very interesting information on all things New Jersey politics.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Inside Edge. Today is Wednesday, January 29th. Bob Menendez had an incredible 50-year career in New Jersey politics. It was a meteoric rise from being a 20-year-old school board member in Union City to the chairmanship of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee. But this afternoon, instead of facing voters, he'll appear before a federal judge, a judge who will decide how many years he's going to spend in prison. That comes after his conviction last summer on 16 counts of bribery, extortion, and acting as an agent of a foreign government. Prosecutors want Menendez to go to prison for 15 years. His lawyers say it should be 27 months. This is the judge's call. There's no time off for good behavior in a federal prison. If he gets the full 15 years, he'll be in prison until he's 86. And this is about to be one of the worst days in Senator Menendez's life. I mean, I know this. I've been in his shoes. It is a frightening day, to say the least. And Menendez could spend the rest of his life in prison. The former senator's almost certain to get some jail time. It's not likely that he'll be taken into custody today. He's not a violent criminal. And the big question is whether he'll remain free pending his appeal. It'll take the Bureau of Prisons a little while to figure out where Menendez is going, and that process will start today. But in reality, what is said in the courtroom by prosecutors, by Menendez's lawyers, maybe even by the former senator himself, it's more theatrics and process than anything else, because in all likelihood, the judge already knows what he's going to do. There's not a lot of spontaneity in a federal judge's courtroom. And the big question for me, at least, is what will Menendez say, if anything at all? So far, he hasn't broken character. He continues to maintain his innocence. And if there's anything that might cause the judge to lessen his sentence, it would be for Menendez to accept responsibility and demonstrate genuine remorse. Unfortunately, don't count on that. That's not Bob Menendez's way. He got a new lease on life after his 2017 trial and his 2018 reelection. He had a choice to live his best life, but like Icarus, Bob Menendez flies too close to the sun. Maybe he always has. But I think he really thought he was invincible. And now he's about to become the second New Jersey senator in my lifetime to go to jail. And it's really sad. That's everything for today, and I'll be back tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much, David. And we'll be listening to David's political commentary, the editor of the New Jersey Globe, each day. So make sure you tune in for him right here on New Jersey. When we come back, President Trump orders a stop to federal support for transition treatments and surgeries for minors. And ICE steps up its roundup of illegal aliens. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. Our number 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. We're coming right back. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. Right now it is 33 degrees. Our time is 8:51, and meteorologist Mike Pavetta has the windy but milder Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Yeah, you'd never know it with the wind, Ken. Even though the thermometer will say 50 or 51 degrees, those gusts, they'll be approaching wind advisory criteria in some parts of the state. So with this afternoon, yes, looking mild, lots of sunshine today. There is a wind advisory for the entire state for gusts upwards of 35, maybe 40 miles per hour, although it won't necessarily be all that cold until we get to tonight, because that's when the front passes, helping us achieve freezing temperatures tomorrow and below zero wind chills in the northern sections of the state. And that may set the stage for some icing by Friday morning. So with the current alert being the wind advisory for the entire state lasting through 6 o'clock this evening, there's plenty of weather around that moves on in, but it doesn't really get here until later on after our daily high. That's why we get up to 51 over in Egg Harbor City, 51 for you in Hamilton, 50 in Glassboro, and 52 in Melville. That'll feel quite nice, even down along the shore points along the ocean front, upper 40s, thanks to a little bit of an extra breeze there. So there's the front pushing on by. We have another round of sunshine tomorrow, the high pressure keeping our skies clear until we get to Friday or Thursday night. Into Friday morning, that's when our next weather system rolls in, providing a little bit of icy glaze early before sunrise on Friday morning, and then quickly changing to a plain rain. It's a steady, soaking rain that'll take us into the afternoon. Clears out by Saturday, so we've got a beautiful start to the weekend, but Sunday may bring back another threat of some flakes off to the north as that high slides eastward and brings back that potential for another round of light snow. You see it there working through upstate New York, may clip northern counties by Sunday night, and then clears the way for a pretty decent start to next week. I think by the middle of next week, might see our next run-in with our next weather system, but a little too far out in time. So we'll give that some time to resolve itself. Speaking of rain, how much rain do we see? Could be upwards of 2 inches, and there's that 90-degree chance of rain, or 90% rather, chance of rain on Friday. I wish it were the 90s temperature-wise. We're just frozen here, especially with that ice potential for early Friday morning. So there's the ice impact for the northwestern sections of the state. It does turn milder, however, going forward into the first part of February, and equal chances of rain, I think, even as we head into the first week of February, starting off the next month on an average dry scene. So with the 7-day forecast bringing back our chances of rain for Friday, there's our high climbing only into the upper 40s. But again, it's warm enough that it should not promote any frozen precip. Saturday brings back the cold, but also brings back the sun. And then for Sunday, a little bit of late day cloud cover, maybe a few flakes up north, but it's the 50 degrees for the first Monday in February. That looks very pleasant. And then, of course, for southern New Jersey, a lot more rain for you. Could be 1 to 2 inches of rain falling throughout the day on Thursday along southern New Jersey coastline, climbing back into the 40s for Saturday and Sunday. More sun on Sunday, clouds on Saturday, and then by Monday and Tuesday of next week, I think we'll see those highs yet again climb into the low 50s. So a seesaw effect. We get 40s some days, 50s the next, but at least we're not staying in that very cold pattern, Ken, going forward into the next few weeks. So some warmer days ahead, and we'll take them.
That sounds like a good thing. We like the warmer days part, Mike. And again, the this coming weekend, your favorite day, Groundhog Day on
Yeah.
Sunday. I think we should send you a living groundhog because I know you don't have your hands full with a baby or anything like that at home. So I think you should be able to raise a groundhog. What do you think?
Yeah, groundhog. I mean, I think, I don't know. I feel like the town already has enough rodents running around, decimating the vegetable gardens. Had the have a heart trap. Had that one year, caught something. I probably groundhog, probably rodent. Released it back into the woods, and what do you know? It was back the very next day, munching on the cucumbers and zucchini. So,
What is
rodents
it
and I,
about
we don't get
animals?
along. Mm,
Animals in New Jersey, when they find a good patch of vegetation,
yeah,
they know how to get back. When I used to live on the Nutley-Belleville border years ago, and I had a neighbor where we lived was a farm at one point. So the soil was like very red clay, great for growing tomatoes. My
yeah,
neighbor, Gavin, used to grow these beautiful pumpkins. And I remember one year, this one summer, the pumpkins were huge. He had like 15 or 20 of them. He came one morning, I'm inside, it's early morning, and I hear every four-letter word under the sun. Turns out he had a squirrel that took bites out of didn't just eat one
Oh
pumpkin,
no,
had to
just a bite
taste
out of
each of
everyone.
the 15. Everyone. So he killed every darn pumpkin. So he's cursing up a storm. He did set a trap. Humane.
Yeah,
Nothing that hurt the squirrel.
right.
Captured it. Fat squirrel. Took it out to the woods about a mile or two away. And the next day, the damn thing was back.
Uh-huh. It's
It's like,
wild.
how
That
on
and
earth?
the deer. Can't help the deer from eating every shrub, every expensive shrub that's supposedly deer resistant. Well, apparently the New Jersey
Yeah.
deer in Morris County, they just like the buffet and they go for it. So
Think they can read. That's the problem.
probably.
All right. Mike Favetta, we'll catch you in the morning. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. Have a
See you
wonderful
tomorrow.
day. You bet. You too. It is now 34 degrees at 8:56. President Trump yesterday signed an executive order that will cut federal support for gender transitions for people under the age of 19. The order states, quote, "It is the policy of the United States that it will not fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the so-called transition of a child from one sex to another, and that it will rigorously enforce all laws that prohibit or limit these destructive and life-altering procedures." For those who are just tuning in, we find out that the drones are ours. That's big New Jersey news today. Yesterday, President Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, made the announcement that the drones are ours. They're not an invasion force from space or from another country. Nothing to worry about, although we don't know that much more about them. And one last little bit, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has announced that, and I'm reading this from my screen, he's immediately pulling retired General Mark Milley's personal security detail and security clearance, and we are told that he might be demoted for what he did in terms of trying to advise President Trump to leave Afghanistan and leave $80 billion of military equipment there. Trump referred to him as an effing idiot. There you go. We'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you for watching on New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. Have a great day.